Alrighty, Doc here from North America. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It is TGIF. Let's see what we got here. There's Mountain. Mountain says, yeah, and at 16-year low. I think it's even worse. It may be like a 20 or 25-year low. Weekly double bottom compared to the major big major currency levels has a potential for a massive upswing. It seems very orderly, but let's take a look at it. Right there. Yeah, see, matter of fact, it's down for the day. It's not up for the day. And so let's put it up on J4X, and then we can come back to the dollar index from there. Right. Where are you? Where are you? Right there. Okay. Yeah. So on our indicators here on J4X, you can see that the yellow is trading at 91 and the green is at 87. It's trying to break down. You can see the Hinky Ashkies are all green for weeks here. Same situation over on Chicano Quant. You can see the fast has been in a buy since the first week of April. You can see that the slow slid into it going into the second, going on to the third week. Right there, it jumped right up to it. And then at the same time, daily wise, we've been in, like from here, I guess you could say the 140 area, which is kind of interesting, is we've been in, what was that like? Let's widen that out. We're going to widen it out so you can see it better, but it's been some crazy number. Like it went into the buy here on June 2nd, slid into the sell for a couple days right there. You can see right there, there, jumps back into the buy again. And so basically 3 days out of the whole month, it's been in a buy on a daily basis and been on a weekly basis, as we said, back since April. Back in here, you can see here is the fast. The fast went into it on the 8th, and then the slow. Let's put the zero line in too to emphasize this even more. There's the zero line. So you can see that there's the zero line right there. It jumped through it here and broke the manifold, and then a week and a couple days later, it joined in on the slow up around the 134-ish, 133 high area, and then it's just been off to the races. It just doesn't back off, and I'm surprised. I myself thought it would try to back off in the 38s, but it never did. It stalled out in the 38s, and you can see that right there. We went to that daily buy from that wild spike, and this, sometimes we try to coordinate the politics, and what I mean by the politics, let me describe it even better, but it just means the same thing, and that is committee meetings. In other words, decision-making events that is in the minutes that are set up 30 days ahead of time. It's for the next agenda. So in other words, first you have politics. Everybody just thinks politics, election. And after that, they go to sleep. They don't really pay attention to it. But after someone gets elected, then they get involved in the machine itself, the system itself. And what happens is you become on committees. You're maybe a parliamentarian, or you're on a commission, or you're on a committee, or you're on a council. You're on something, okay? And you've been elected. And then what happens is there's an agenda, and the agenda gets set 30 days ahead of time on its docket. It starts to define things. So in other words, in this case here, the new fellow who joined, become the president of the Bank of Japan, was appointed, and now he has committees. There's Robert's rules. There's the structure. And we've noticed, and we've pointed it out, 30 days ahead, you see these pops. We go into a weekly signal. We see these moves in a currency or a pairs trade, or even in other different types of products. And then you see another 30 days later, or like 3 or 4 days before they have the meeting, they have a consensus. They have an idea where the vote's going. And then you see another move that accentuates the last move from 30 days back. And it's all part of the process. And so in this case here, when the new Bank of Japan president came out, got appointed, and then came out and made his speeches and defined what his policies were going to be for the next year, because that's what they do when you become a commissioner or chairman of a committee. You kind of define out what the agenda is going to be, what you're going to look into, and you lay the rules down in some way how you're running the agenda, and you have your allies and then you have your opposition, and so you can see it in the way transactions occur. And so that's what I've been talking about. That's what I'm talking about. And you can see here, he becomes president. I think it's right around in here, right where the fast gets into the weekly buy. He becomes the president of the Bank of Japan. And he starts laying his agenda out. And you see this upwardly slope. And you can tell that something's going on. And I read his statements. His statement was that he was going to investigate the past process, see what he could do to make it better. He felt like it needed to be audited. He wanted to audit it for the next 3 to 6 months. He's going to be working on the audit itself of what he'd seen had happened over the years and what he believes could be changed. And so they put in all this, or get high, Robin. Buy low, sell high, get high. Good morning. And so that's what we're seeing there now. Now we fast forward all the way up to today's actions, and you can see here, in the 30-day period, it seems to jump in, and right around the same time, the committee meetings seem to jump in. And you can see here we are now up in what's today's high? It was 145.07. Is that right? Yeah, that's the high. 145.07. We are down on the day just a little bit, nothing meaningful. You can see we've been in the buy right since here. The weekly obviously has been very strong since way back in April. A full quarter now, and so that's pretty much what we're talking about here. Is that it's not, and I believe here's the. Let's go to let's do it on J4X. J4X can look a little bit more accurate on some levels, or give us the flavor of what we're looking for here. Let's take a look at when it did do the 35-year high. There it is right there. Back in the beginning, the end of the fourth quarter, right there. And he may have become president somewhere back in here. It may not be just there. I forget what it was at this point. Or maybe this was the anticipation of him becoming president. And that's why, let's look up how long the new Bank of Japan president has been in office. I think it's 3 or 4 months, 5, 6 months. Maybe it's 6 months. I don't know. Bank of Japan president. Let's see what it says. Kazuo Ida is set to become the next governor of the Bank of Japan, succeeding current central bank chief Haruki Kuroda. Let's see. That is. What is that? That is. It's February of 2014. Okay. So, as a Japanese banker, a former minister of finance, government official who served as the 31st governor of the Bank of Japan. All right. And so he took over in February, and he started making it clear what he was planning on. And you can see this move here, this big move we see right there, that coordinates, which is really odd, coordinates with the Swiss. Let's just show you how all the other pairs trades marched in their own direction like normal, but the Swiss and the yen joined all of a sudden to, which they don't normally do. They don't usually follow the same trend, and something was going on, and we know what that was at that point. We know it was Credit Suisse was having problems, and the Federal Reserve had to do swaps to prop up or fix or help, or however you want to describe it, with the situation. Right there. Now, there's the Swiss. Same thing, same time period. Okay. Now we see here, after that's resolved at this point, right? We saw them do all those swaps. The Federal Reserve did swaps with the Bank of Switzerland, and then they bailed out the Bank of Switzerland, bailed out Credit Suisse, and then they merged Credit Suisse, and just like that, like Sex and the City, and then just like that, And as you can see here, let's put the yen back up. Basically, they both topped out at the same point. So obviously, Japan was trapped in whatever situation was going on with Credit Suisse. Then the new bank president comes in here. He comes in here after they've calmed down. It's all resolved, and now it's taking that same course again. Now that high here, that 151, almost 152, that was something like a 30 some odd year high. That was like since 1991, or was it 20? Yeah, it was a 31, 32 year high. Okay, and so we talked about this, and we clarified it how we were thinking about it all. Okay, so let's go back to Mountain now. Mountain says GBP JPY and AUD JPY are in weekly and daily sell as well as the weekly double tops again. Potential for a massive sell-off similar to the U.S. yen last November. Well, let's take a look at them because we do follow both of those. So let's go to GBP JPY right there. That's the first one. And I would assume, yeah, they should look a lot alike because, again, it was the yen on that one side and the cable on the other, and the cable was way more firm than the yen, obviously, and it was going in an opposite direction actually than the yen and the Swiss. Both of them were having those issues. J4X is loading it up now, and once it does, I'm gonna go on Chicago Quant now. Put it on. Yeah, see that. See, it had that trend, but it was nowhere near as, being beat up. Let's put it that way. GBP JPY right there. All right, now this was, where is it at? This is the topping out. It was nowhere near as tenacious because look at the gain it's done now. Whatever's doing it now, look compared to that, compared to right there. They haven't taken out that high yet. Okay, this is the dollar pairs trade against the yen, and then when we go over to the GBP JPY, GBP is way outperforming. It's already done what you're suggesting. It's already made that massive move. Look at it. It took out that high here, and it's probably running at now it would be a really interesting thing is wonder what the historical charts are of GBP JPY, going back into the 1980s and 1990s before they became so institutionalized. They were always institutionalized, but they became, I guess what it is that they had a 2008 experience in 1992-93. Their currency and their stock market went through the roof. And it was starting to slide against the dollar, and they bought a lot of investments with the success in the 80s, and they lost a lot of money into the 90s from it all, overpaying enormous pieces of value for properties like Rockefeller Center. They paid $1 billion for it when no one paid $1 billion for anything in New York City. Or was it $2 billion? It was insane. It was insane, the price tag. And so, Music Corporation of America, man, did they overpay for that? T. Boone's Pickens oil fields, maybe? Didn't they get trapped into that city service situation with the oil and gas in the 80s? Japan did it, and they ended up owning. They bought 7-Eleven, the fast food, fast service. 7-Eleven was the top store in the country. It's what do they call it? Not fast food, but it's like convenience store. And they overpaid that. And T. Boone Pickens got the gas stations, and they got T. Boone Pickens, may he rest in peace, got the oil fields, and the Japanese got the gas stations, but not the oil fields. And so then they lost a lot of money on that. And it was like, it was like I said, it was like a 2008 experience for them back in the late 80s, early 90s. So, Now look at that. That what an extreme that is, Mountain. Look at that extreme. I mean, you've got. I mean, they've taken out the January highs basically, right there. That's the January high, where the Credit Suisse problem was, and this thing now is telling us that that's the wild ride, because when you look at the dollar yen, it's nowhere near. It hasn't taken out that same high, and compared to the previous one. Now let's go check out AUD JPY. You did say AUD, didn't you? So you said, yeah, AUD JPY. Let's put that in there. AUD. Oh, that didn't work. Wrong keyboard. AUD JPY. Yeah, so Mountain says GPP and AUD are in weekly and daily sell as well as the weekly double tops again. Potential for massive sell-off or similar in the dollar. Now, see, I just showed you. It's not similar at all. It may be similar in direction, but it's not in performance and statistically. Whoa. GBP JPY is running through the roof. It is rocking. Here the dollar JPY hasn't even gotten that high. And the other is some crazy number. What is it like? 5%, 7% higher, and the dollar JPY is like 5 or 7% lower. Let's see what the JP. I would imagine AUD JPY looks the same as GBP. We'll see in a few seconds here when it loads. Then Mountain says Euro JPY and GBP JPY are at 15-year and 18-year, 8-year highs. That makes sense to me. They are rocking, but I know, like there we go. Yeah, so that's barely budging compared to what we saw. I would have thought it would have been almost identical. That's interesting. Let's see what Euro GBP looks like right there, or JPP. JPY. There it go. There it comes. Let's see, which one was doing more, you were saying? GBP, yeah, 15, that's something. And I would say the dollar is at 25-year highs, something like that against it. And that last pop that I showed you, that 51 and change, that was something like 33-year highs. That's what that was. I remember talking about it. Matter of fact, I think I labeled one of the webinars, dollar yen 33-year high. Yeah, look at that. That's what, the euro? That thing's doing the same thing as the GBP one is. They're both rocking. Look at that. I mean, well beyond this point here of the Credit Suisse problem. And you can see here, what is interesting is that this probably matches up to this, the Swiss, Euro-Swiss pairs trade. Euro-Swiss, yeah, I'm saying it right. You feel me, Mountain? See what I'm saying? You're right about the extreme. But it's even wilder than you're even spotting. It's definitely exotically wild. The bigger question in my head is I'm trying to figure out is the Bank of Japan now coming up with a policy that is going to go Turkish-like, in other words, the Turkish lira situation. I doubt that because there's so much a healthier economy than the Turkish lira is. But it does question, in other words, we talked about this yesterday. The interest rates, we showed it yesterday in the interest rates. Japan is still trading interest rates in the minus. Everybody else is in plus now. But in Japan, the interest rates are in the minus. And I've heard him say he's supportive of moving the interest rates to zero from minus. So they're a very leveraged economy. Not as bad as China, but they're very leveraged, enormously leveraged. More leveraged than Greece. What are you thinking, Mountain? You got anything to throw back? Are you, think about it for a little bit. You've obviously spotted things that are interesting. Now think about what have you spotted. That's the bigger question. What is driving this whole situation? That's what I'm saying. But just realize that dollar yen, that January high or that late December high, was like a 33-year high, which is outrageous. 33 years, since like 1990. And then I just, kind of reminded everybody of the chaos that they had in the late 80s from the overwhelming amount of cash they had coming into Japan. They went out and they bought a lot of things. The Nikkei still has not seen that. And I guess if you change the currency around, but the actual Nikkei made an all-time high back in 90 or 91 or 89 or something like that, or 93, right around there. I remember that. It was all-time high of 39,000. And right now the Nikkei is trading at 32,000 or something like that. Yeah, it is. That's exactly. That's the big question. And what's driving it? in other words, no doubt about it. You've identified it very clearly. There's a massive amount of weakness going on, but it's very orderly. Notice how orderly it's been. Notice that whatever was going on at Credit Suisse back in November and October, November, and December of last year, it bit both Switzerland and Japan. Whatever it was, with the Credit Suisse situation, both countries' currencies took it hard on the chin. Now, dollar yen has not even gotten that high yet. But what's interesting is you identified it. GBP is through the roof compared to then. Look at the GBP. It's way, way higher. It's in other words, the yen is so much more weaker, even more. That is your massive weakness. That's the one that's really curious. And is that part of the situation where we've been watching the dollar kind of pare back because we believed that interest rates weren't going to go up anymore? Now we're seeing they don't have much of a choice. They got to raise, or let's put it this way: they are not going to lower rates for at least another year. Let's put it that way. Rates are not going to be lowered until late 24 at this point. That's the way I see it. I don't see them lowering rates going into January and February of 24. I just don't see that happening. And I don't see. They may try to pull something in September or something like that, start to lower rates, or start it in June. But I really be surprised. If nothing else, the country here is going to be stalled from policies that are not able to be implemented as much. So money anticipates future events, and they're just going to be anticipating that the Trump type of economy is coming back again, where everything is growing. And so the Federal Reserve will have to adjust correctly to money supply and GDP and employment the right ways, not the political ways. So that is that. All right, good point, Mountain. You definitely had woken me up to the fact that I had no idea. Look at that. That's Euro GBP doing the same thing, just blasting off from that December high. Just blasting off. It was at 145. It's trading at where is that at now? 157. Same way with. Let's go back to the other one too. GBP, JPY. The high was. Where's the high? The high was like 172, and it's trading at 182 now, with a high of 183.75. Both of them are really, really strong compared to dollar yen right here. And then we'll jump over to a new subject unless you want to keep on looking at it. I can find it. Right there. There you are. Yeah, we're at 151, 56. We're trading at 43 right now. We're like 8 handles lower, whereas both the euro and the British pound are like 8 and 10 handles higher, which is pretty big stuff. Way to go, Mountain! Pointing something out that is definitely thought provoking, very clear that there is massive action going on, and the question is, how do we benefit from it? How would you make money from it? I guess if anything, what you said, one thing for sure is that you want to basically trade the euro or the GBP against the yen than you do against the dollar and the yen, because they're both outperforming. Do I think that the dollar can catch up? Nah, I don't think it can. I don't think it. I mean, it can take out the high of 51, but do I think that it can catch up to the same percentage gains that the other two currencies have had? I don't. I don't see that. I don't see them coming into equal, some type of steady state. So, way to go. Thank you. Let's see. Where do we go from there? Go back to the dollar index and see what the dollar index is doing. There it is right there. Dollar index, just kind of stumbling around. It's, what is that? That's the weekly. So it's in a weekly. Let's put it up on Chicago Quant at the same time. There's Bitcoin. Bitcoin holding up in that little daily buy there. Look at that for a couple of weeks now. And a weekly buy for almost 3 weeks now. What was I looking for? I'm looking for dollar index. Right there. You see there, it's holding up. It's in the daily buy, but the weekly sell, just the same as we're seeing here on Chicago. Oh, you can't see that. Hang on. On Chicago Quant. You see that situation. I guess that's the anticipation of those interest rate increases. Let's put the daily back up there, and there's daily. You see that same situation, lots of buying going on. Yellow's at 76, green is at 81, so they're still firm, and they are buying some dollars. Not the way they're buying pounds and euros, though, that's for sure. They're buying less dollars and more pounds and euros, which is an interesting pairs trade, and it's not the pairs trade itself, but the individuality of it. Both of them are good products. I guess must be we do follow the other. Let's take a look at that. Let's go take a look at GBP. It's a Euro GBP pairs trade. Let's see what that looks like. Right there. So overall, the euro has been losing against the pound. Just recently, in the last couple of weeks, it's turned up. Let's see it over here on Chicago Quant. No, that's not it. Right there it is. Right there. So you can see here, it's been heading down since there's May. There is February right there. So the euro has been losing against the British pound until just recently, the last couple of weeks. And you can see, it topped out here. Ooh, look at that nice spike back in September of last year. Pretty much a good sideways action, really. Nothing spectacular in that. Keeps it nice and tight. We've been in a weekly sell for, what's that, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is going on 11th week. Interesting. I would imagine, if anything else, you would probably want to buy some, in the way to make money on this, really, I would have to believe what you just identified. You really want to buy pound yen and buy euro yen. It's almost like a brick type thing, taking the opposite side of the dollar. and they're probably going to outperform the dollar just because of what would be the reason? I thought this is always floating in the back of my head. I think about this old saying we always used to have on Wall Street: when America sneezes, the world catches a cold. Okay? And so, in other words, the pressure on the world is really hard financially when America is sloppy and upside down in capitalism. In other words, they're practicing socialism with the rest of the world. It hurts the world. When we practice capitalism more fervently, more aggressively, the world gains from it. It feels it. So in other words, when someone sneezes and somebody else catches the cold, they are the ones that caught the bug. So it's kind of like a bad thing, And that's why I always think of that. So we know markets, we just said it a few minutes ago, we know markets like to anticipate future events. Buy the rumor, sell the news. So, is the world starting to move in a direction thinking, okay, more than likely there's going to be changes again back to capitalism in the United States over the next, year and a half. And so do you start to maneuver towards that now? That's what I'm thinking. Just a thought, no real clear evidence more than, looking at what Mountain had put up there today. Looking at the GBP, JPY, and then looking at the Euro JPY, and then looking at the dollar JPY. You can see the dollar JPY is underperforming compared to the other two. Massively underperforming. So, it just kind of says, is that the beginning of signs showing that those currencies have been... No, think about it. Let me just say this out loud. There's been years now since we all... And I can actually say we created the euro, it was part of the trading side of it. I have to say that the euro has been like 150, 160, 170. Now we saw an all-time low no more than 6 months ago. Is it 6 months ago now? No. So it's like 9 months ago, 8 months ago. Let's put it up on the screen. So the euro dollar pairs trade, or dollar, what is it? It's euro dollar in it. Yeah, it's right there. And you look at it on J4X there. There's all-time low. That is October of last year. All-time low. And we know the all-time high is like 160, 170. It's up in that area. Let's see if we can go back. Let's see what we can find as the highest high we've ever seen in it. So we'll go to a quarterly, right? Or a monthly. Can we get a quarterly? No, we only can get a monthly. All right, so let's take a look at that. All-time high, 160 something back in 2007. All right? So, when you come and make an all-time low of 95, 96, whatever that is at the point. I think it's 95 and change. Yeah, you got to assume that it has the potential to at least get back up into the 120s, 130s. You feel me, traders? See what I'm saying? So this might be the play over time, is that's where you really want to be, is you want to be in the cable and you want to be in the euro. Because if we go, full metal jacket capitalism again, which looks like it's going to happen, then what's going to happen is that the world is going to grow. And who's undervalued more than anybody else? The world. The world is pretty much undervalued, especially in the currencies. And when you go look at the same thing let's look at GBP, JP, dollar pairs trade. Right there. 211. Here we're trading at $1.20 and change. So it could almost double to get back to all-time highs. That's a hell of a move in a currency. And we've all seen the calamity of poor Turkish lira. But, that's going to be, that, if nothing else, it could get up into the the 160s or something like that, So, Mountain, you've opened the doorway for really looking at, trying to understand, who might be the better currency pairs over the next, year to a year and a half. And more than likely, it may be, GBP, dollar, is going to be a winner. Euro versus dollar going to be a winner. And without a doubt, if you don't want the dollar noise, you just go GBP JPY or Euro JPY. Yeah. So interesting, eh, Mountain? You opened the door. Thank you. We cheer people like you on to keep on opening the door. Because we don't learn, none of us do, if we don't have something to look at. And then you got Crazy Doc, coming up with, talking about T. Boone Pickens and 7-Eleven and Rockefeller Center. They haven't heard those words in a long time. Let's see. Last time the yen was this week, it was just before the 8th recession. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'll tell you. It's interesting, very interesting. And then, there's a strong feeling on Wall Street. I'm hearing. Oh, let's see. When it was bought that like crazy when the stock market crashed. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it was flight to safety for a short period of time, and then zoom to the moon. There's a real strong feeling that the year could end out with a 4 or 3.75% inflation rate. We're in the 5. We're really stuck at the 5, and it's a possibility that we could see ourselves dip into the low 4s before the end of the year. I myself would love to see that. That'd be nice to see the 4s. Yeah, right. I hear you. I, you know, I, you know, I, how do I phrase any of this about that? I guess more than anything else is that the U.S. economy right now is being hampered by the socialist thrust that's happening to it right now. And it got stalled out because they could not take the House of Representatives, the socialists. And they barely took the Senate. They only picked up a seat. So, or was it 2 seats? No, I think they picked up a seat. 1 seat, was it? So, no, it was 2 seats, I think. I think it's 48 to 52, or is it 40? It's 49 to 51. I think that's how it is. 49-51. So, it's really tough to pass these socialist ideas any more than just in a short basis. Okay, in other words, 1 year, 2 year, something like that, 3 year. In this case here, we're coming down to like a year and a half. So, in other words, we are in July, basically. In hours now. Some of you are living in July. You're in July of 2023. Some of us are just hours away. Janos, you're where are you at? You're in late afternoon, waiting another 7 hours to get into 23 in July of 23. So then you go and you look at November of 24. Between July of 23 and November of 24 comes out to be about, what is that, a year and 3 months. Right? It's not even a year and a half now. Well, the policies are going to go slower and slower. The closer we get to that election, it's going to get worse and worse with the politicians. They're going to do less and less and less. Okay? And so what's going to happen is that, economically. So 2 out of the 3 branches of government want to do something, more towards socialism, and they're not going to be able to do it. The other side of it that actually signs the checks, the House, is not going to move anything that's socialist. So you have less than a year and a quarter to go, and at the same time it's like a theta decay on an option. It's decaying, and there's nothing stopping it. It's going to decay, and so that's where we really are. So it's going to be very hard for the markets to do anything to it all. At the same time, you know, Robin and I were talking about what I had discussed yesterday about how the overnight money is kept in the hands of traders so that they can hold positions overnight for free. And I talked about the reversal conversion yesterday, how to put on a synthetic bond, basically. How if someone gives you $1 billion for free every night, you're allowed to use it, then you can make, something like, I don't know, you can make 2 or 3%, you can make 3 or 4%, you can make 0.5%, but on $1 billion, it starts to build up. You start to make some money there. So, that's stability. That's what QE is all about, is stability. They don't want to see the pension funds, the mutual funds, the trust funds. They don't want to see any funds depleted. They don't want to see them hurt. Retirement funds, they don't want any of that to be hurt. They want it to all be stable. That's why a lot of Dunskies, those people who weren't too smart the first time around, are still running funds that shouldn't even be near a fund. They shouldn't be allowed to even get in front of the driver's wheel of a car. They didn't know what they were doing then, and I don't think they know much what they're doing now. So the Fed is pumping money into the system, or keeping money. It's not pumping. It's keeping money in the system for companies like Citadel or Merrill Lynch or Bank of America or whoever. They're allowing them to use this money every night for free, and they're making money off of it. It's helping their balance sheets. Boy, doesn't General Electric really wish they hadn't thrown away all what they did in 2008? They went totally the wrong way. Let's see. 4% on $1 billion overnight is $40 million in profit. Yeah. So, really, think about this, Mountain. Citadel, one of the top hedge funds in the known universe, gets $1 billion a night to play with for free. Every night it has $1 billion. They're not adding more billions to it. Just every night they have $1 billion to invest. Now, are they guaranteed that it's going to be there 2 days from now? No. But if you create reversals and conversions and things like that, or synthetic bonds with options, and they are one of the top option hedge funds in the world. Okay? Well, matter of fact, I was partners with one of the guys that was head of their options trading for years. And he was their their director of options. And so, you put positions on. If the Federal Reserve comes out 2 nights from now and says, guess what? After all these years, I want our $1 billion back. They'll just unwind that position and hand it to them, and that'll be it. Because you got to figure out $40 million a night, $30 million a night over 10 years. I don't know. You tell me. How much is that? Let's just round it out to $20 million a night. Let's cut it in half, for the last 10 years. All right? So $20 million over 1 year. All right? So you want to do 365, or you just want to cut out the weekends? Well, $20 million 10 times is $200 million. Right? And then if it's 100 times, it's instead of $200 million, it's $2,000 million. 100,000 billion is a trillion, right? Is that right, or is it 1,000 trillion? A thousand billion. I think 1,000 billion is a trillion. That's what it is, right? 1,000 billion is a trillion. So have they brought in over $1 trillion in profits over 10 years? You tell me. If they were doing it right, I'd say pretty close to it. So can they afford to hand them back that $1 billion? I bet they can. If I know Citadel's option guys, definitely. 200 trading days in a year times $20 billion, right? Not $4 billion, right? Yeah. And I understand they give it to JPM Chase also. They get $1 billion every night. And I hear they get, I understand Merrill Lynch and Bank of America get it every night. And then there are smaller ones that get $500 million and $250 million, things like that. So it's an interesting point of view. It's looking at the physical mechanics. What you did is by opening up GBP JPY, we've looked at the physical and the political and the central bank, because with that GBP JPY conversation, we saw that distortion from the Swiss and the yen that was not in the GBP and the euro. So obviously with the Credit Suisse situation, something was going on there that had great influence. Mountain says when they put $1 billion every night, no, not they leave it there every night. That's what it is. So in other words, they gave them the $1 billion, 10 years ago, and they don't take it away. So that $1 billion is still sitting there every night. Do they have to give it back in the morning? No, because the Fed contacts them and says keep it. No, they don't move it around. This way it doesn't interfere in the money supply. If it's just sitting there, then they're not moving. The money supply isn't going up and down like a rubber band or like a ping pong ball. They just leave it there. Could they? Yes. Will they? No. I like that. Could they? Yes. Will they? No. No, they're not going to take stability out of the market. They don't want to take stability. The only reason, and we talked about it here with the V bottom in 2020. For those that were, have been following us, from 2020 or 18 or whatever, or 15, doesn't matter. The V bottom, we knew the V bottom was coming because they were getting rid of the put sellers. They wanted those put sellers gone, and they used COVID to do it. They were tired of hearing about the free put, free put, free put. The Fed was embarrassed by that. Congressmen and senators were asking them about the free put. The Federal Reserve Chairman did not want to hear about free puts because he kept on denying there were free puts. And they used to ask him that question. Wow, I finished my tea today. That's cool. Sometimes I don't get past that point of finishing it. Interesting. So yeah. All right, where are we at now? We got like 5 minutes to go. So let's go look in the neighborhood. Let's see what's going on throughout the neighborhood. All right, so here we go. Let's go to okay, there it is. Oh, let's go do the currencies real quick. So we saw the euro. There's the euro. It's in a weekly buy. It's in a daily sell for 2 days now. Really choppy around, isn't it? Look at that. And then let's go over to cable. Cable's stayed in that sell. It's been in that sell for last 3 days. It's in a weekly buy for 3 weeks, going into 4 weeks. So we're getting all kinds of interesting action out of it in the sense of it doesn't want to go anywhere. Swiss saltine, there it is, 4 days, 5 days in daily buy, and 3 weeks in a weekly sell. Boy, no one wants to go anywhere. The markets are really choked. There's the dollar yen. Even the yen is down for the day, but up in a daily buy for, what's that, 4, that's 8, that's 12, 14 days it's in a daily buy. And it's been in that weekly buy for months. Then we go over to, where do we go to? We go to the Turkish lira. Oh, they made another all-time high today? Let's see. Did they or did they not? It went into the sell yesterday. And then today the all-time high is, or the high is 28.58. And I think the all-time high is 69 or something like that. 61. All-time high is 61. So they missed 58. They're just 3 ticks off of it. Then you can see it's a second day in a sell. Obviously, it's going to stay in that weekly buy for a while. It's been in that weekly buy all the way since late March, from the 20 area. Then from there we go over to CAD. You can see CAD, been lifting up the last couple of days. It's in a weekly sell for over a month since late May, and we are 4 days in a buy. Let's see what Mount says when they get. Okay, so and then let's go to South African Rand. You see, South African Rand has been moving up. We usually show you the currency, the metals. We'll show you the metals real quick because I want to run and gun and get them all done. This way people can see this through the video. Mexican peso, the major brick. You can see that right there. It's just sideways down at the bottom end of the range. It's in a daily sell for a few days. In a weekly sell since April-ish. And let's see. That's it. That's the currencies. Oh, let's do for Benny if Benny tunes in. GBP, JPY. All right. There it is there. That thing's like rocking and a rolling and a reeling. You know, it's in the daily buy. Oh no, okay. So no, it's still in the daily buy since was that 7 days ago? It's still in the daily buy. It's in the weekly buy since all the way back in late March. It's in the weekly buy. So. All right, now from there we close the currencies. Close. Let's run over to the metals complex. Let's see. Let's do energies. They're right in front of our face. Oil jumped into the daily buy yesterday. It's still up firm today, and it's playing with the weekly buy again. You can see it just goes in and out, in and out. It's really lost. It has no clean and clear direction. Then you can see the front month is 70.42, back month is 70.44. All the premium is pretty much gone now, and so that means that the demand is people want that August contract now. All of a sudden they want front month oil compared to they were selling it for days now. You can see it's climbing into a weekly buy as we speak. Yeah, that's it, because that's where it went into the sell last week right there. And now it's just jumping right back into the weekly buy. So it's been very firm in the back month. Very firm. Natural gas, you can see that right there. There's natural gas. They've been in the daily sell for a few days here, but still holding on to that weekly buy. And then we go over to, let's just check out the Spanish company real quick. Get a flavor of what they're doing over there. Let's see what that Spanish energy company is up to today. And the answer to that question is right there. Ouch! 27.32 offers. They jumped over to 27 again. Nat gas here in the States has calmed down and gone sideways, but we're still in that weekly buy, so we see some strength here too. It's playing with the upside. From there we go over to, let's go with gold. There's gold trying to be plus for the day, which is interesting. You can see it's up through the zero line. It's been in a weekly sell now for 8 weeks. Doesn't look like it's going to get into a buy this week, but maybe next week. So it's not, as they say in the hedge fund industry, it's not this week's work, it's next week's work. And then you can see here we're using September silver. You can see that pressure on September silver. Slid into the daily sell yesterday. Still pressuring down, whereas gold is firming up, and it's went into the weekly sell last week. Let's put that in there too. What's up with that? There it is. Thought I had that in there. There we go. And let's save that. Save workspace. There we go. And then I guess we got to try to put. Is there one down there we could steal? Nope. We got to put another one in there, and it went into the weekly sell back in here. So let's put that in there too. There we go. So the poor silver has been sliding pretty consistently. All right, from there we go to copper. Copper, I think, bounced up. I thought I saw that this morning. Yeah, it's trying to play with a buy. It's through the zero line. It's in a weekly buy for 3 weeks. It's all that action is going on there. All right, let me just save that like that. And then at the same time, let me just save silver too. And seeing that situation where silver's not happy anymore about being. It was trying to lead for like a week or two. Just doesn't seem to have been able to hold on doing that. So at this point, let's save that. We'll have to work on that, but we're going to save it anyway. And so there's gold. Now, last one we look at is platinum. Let's see what the platinum's up to. Right there. And you can see October platinum in a sell. Been in there for 3, 6, 7 weeks now. And a daily sell for, boy, it just held off there. So daily sell for, not there, move one over, like that. It's at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th day in the daily sell. All right, traders. Everybody have a safe and smart weekend. For us in the United States, it's almost like a 4-day weekend. We have Saturday, Sunday. We have half day Monday. We are closed on Tuesday. We don't really start really working for a living until Wednesday. I will be here doing my webinar on Monday morning and Tuesday morning. We will make sure we will be doing the webinar and we'll figure something out about the charts. We'll send out Monday morning charts and Monday afternoon charts, and then we don't do it again until Wednesday again. So just is what it is. And even then, I don't even like doing the Monday charts, but you know, we're going to do it anyway. So this is Doc from North America. Have a safe and smart weekend, and everybody enjoy. Ta-ta for now. Happy trails to you until we meet again. Oh, I did see the Cowboys all getting excited. The Cowboys around here are getting real excited about rodeo. It's going to be a big rodeo weekend. I mean, every weekend's a big rodeo weekend around here, but I mean, I could see it. They looked definitely charged up for a 4th of July weekend rodeo. So, happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you, to all our trading friends. Yeehaw, traders, yeehaw.